everybody, and welcome to the lecture. This is lecture 1 on science and sustainability, an introduction to environmental science. This lecture will help us understand the definition of the term environment and a description of the field of environmental science. We'll explain the importance of natural resources and ecosystem services to our own lives. We'll be discussing the consequences of population growth and resource consumption, characterizing the nature of environmental science, understanding the scientific method and the process of science, diagnosing and illustrating some of the pressures on our global environment, and articulating the concept of sustainability and describe some campus sustainability efforts around us. Here is a picture of our island, or as we call it, Earth. The astronaut's view of Earth reveals that its systems are finite and limited, despite its relatively large size. Increases in population, technological power, and resource consumption alter our surroundings and damage the systems that keep us alive. Our environment, it surrounds us. Our environment consists of all living and non-living things around us. And we are part of the natural world, and our interactions with it matter a great deal. We depend completely on the environment for our survival. Environmental science explores our interactions with the world. We modify our environment, and environmental science is the study of how the natural world works, how our environment affects us, and how we affect our environment back. Environmental scientists study issues of central importance to our world and its future. Rapidly changing global conditions demand that we act now to solve these problems. We rely on the natural resources that are on Earth. Natural resources are the substances and energy sources we need to survive. Our island Earth is finite and it is bounded, and it places limitations on the availability of these resources. Renewable natural resources such as sunlight, wind, and wave energy are essentially inexhaustible, while other non-renewable natural resources such as minerals and crude oil are in finite supply and form much more slowly than we can use them. Renewability is on a timescale. Some resources renew themselves over months, years, or decades, and can be depleted if we use them faster than they are replenished. Pictured here are several examples of renewable natural resources and non-renewable natural resources, and some resources that might be a little bit in between. We rely on ecosystem services, and ecosystem services are services such as air and water purification, climate regulation, and plant pollination that Earth's natural systems provide to us. We cannot survive without these processes. We have degraded nature's ability to provide these services by depleting resources, destroying habitats, and generating pollution. Population growth only amplifies the negative impacts we have. Today, our population has grown beyond 7 billion people. Two phenomena triggered remarkable increases in the Earth's population. The agricultural revolution occurred around 10,000 years ago, as humans transitioned from the hunter-gatherer lifestyle to an agricultural-based lifestyle. And then in the 1700s, the Industrial Revolution began. It was a shift from rural agricultural life to an urban society provisioned by mass-produced manufactured goods and powered by fossil fuels. This population size is putting unprecedented stress on natural systems and the availability of resources. As we can see here, the human population was incredibly small preceding the agricultural revolution and took off post-industrial revolution. Resource consumption exerts social and environmental pressures. Industrialization increased the amount of resources each one of us consume. One way to quantify resource consumption is to use the concept of the ecological footprint. The ecological footprint expresses the environmental impact in terms of the cumulative area of biologically productive land and water required to provide the resources to either a person or a population, and to dispose or recycle the waste they produce. Wackernagel and his colleagues calculated that our species is now using 50% more of the planet's resources than are available on a sustainable basis. This excess use has been termed overshoot. People from wealthy nations have much larger ecological footprints than do people from poorer nations. If everyone consumed the amount of resources the U.S. does, we would need 4 Earths. Environmental science can help us avoid past mistakes. Most great civilizations have fallen after degrading their environments, leaving devastated landscapes behind. Author Jared Diamond argues that success and persistence depend largely on the interaction between society and the environment and our responses to problems. The stakes are higher than ever today. If we cannot forge sustainable solutions, there will be global societal collapse. Environmental science is interdisciplinary. It is an interdisciplinary field drawing techniques from multiple disciplines and bringing their research into broad synthesis. Interdisciplinary fields are valuable because their practitioners consolidate and synthesize specialized knowledge from many disciplines and make sense of it in a broad context. Environmental science is broad because it encompasses both the natural sciences and the social sciences. The term environmental studies is often used to describe programs that incorporate the social sciences extensively. An integrated approach to addressing environmental problems can produce effective solutions for society. People often vary how they perceive environmental problems. Whether an environmental condition is seen as a problem depends on the individual and the situation. A person's age, gender, class, race, and much more can all affect whether he or she considers an environmental condition or change a problem. For example, an African and an American, because of differences in their circumstances, differ in their attitude toward the pesticide DDT. People can also vary in their awareness of problems. Environmental science is not the same as environmentalism. Environmental science involves the scientific study of the environment and our interactions with it. Environmentalism, on the other hand, is a social movement dedicated to protecting the natural world from undesirable changes brought about by human interactions. Here's an example of some people crazed with environmentalism. The nature of science. Modern scientists describe science as a systematic process for learning about the world and testing our understanding of it. Knowledge gained from science can be applied to address societal needs. Virtually everything in our lives have been improved by the application of science. Scientists test new ideas by critically examining evidence. Scientists make observations, take measurements, and design tests to determine if ideas are supported by evidence. Most scientific work is observational science or descriptive science, based on information gathering. If enough is known about a subject, scientists will pursue hypothesis-driven science, trying to answer specific questions using the scientific method. The scientific method is the traditional approach to research and is a technique for testing ideas with observations. Scientists of all persuasions broadly agree on fundamental elements of the process of scientific inquiry. The steps of the scientific method are making an observation, asking questions, and then developing a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a statement that attempts to explain a phenomenon or answer a scientific question. Then one must make predictions. A prediction is a specific statement that can be directly and unequivocally tested. Then one must test the predictions. An experiment is an activity designed to test the validity of a prediction or hypothesis and involves manipulating variables or conditions that can change. The independent variable is the variable that the scientist manipulates, while the dependent variable is the one that depends upon the first variable. Scientists conduct controlled experiments by controlling for the effects of all variables except the tested one. Often controlled experiments have a treatment area that is manipulated and another that is not, called a control. And then scientists analyze and interpret the results. Scientists record data or information from their studies and analyze the data using statistical tests. If the results disprove a hypothesis, the hypothesis is rejected and a new one may be proposed. If repeated tests fail to reject a particular hypothesis, it will be ultimately accepted as well as supported. Hypotheses are tested in a variety of ways. A manipulative experiment is an experiment in which the researcher actively chooses and manipulates the independent variable. Researchers also conduct natural experiments to test their hypothesis by searching for correlation or statistical association between variables. An example of this is a scientist surveying algae growth in ponds with and without fertilizer runoff. Natural experiments provide evidence that's weaker than manipulative experiments but can still make for strong science. The scientific process will then continue beyond the scientific method. To have impact, a researcher's work must be published and made accessible to a community of peers. The scientific method is embedded in this larger process and includes various things, such as peer review. Research results are submitted to a journal for publication. Other scientists who specialize in the subject area are asked to provide comments and criticism and judge whether the work merits publication. This process is known as peer review. Conference presentations. Scientists frequently present their work at professional conferences and receive comments on the research. Another aspect of the scientific process may be grants and funding. Most scientists spend considerable time writing grant applications to private foundations or government agencies for support of their research. Conflicts of interest sometimes may arise when results are in conflict with the interests of the funding agency. Repeatability. The careful scientist may test a hypothesis repeatedly in various ways before submitting it for publication. After publication, other scientists will also attempt to reproduce the results in their own analyses. Theories. If a hypothesis survives repeated testing by numerous research teams, it may be incorporated into a theory. A theory is widely accepted, well-tested explanation of one or more cause and effect relationships that has been extensively validated by a great amount of research. In science, a theory is not speculation or hypothesis. Applications. Knowledge gained from scientific research may be applied to help society's needs and address society's problems. Many predicaments addressed by environmental science are known as wicked problems, problems complex enough to have no simple solution and whose nature may change over time. Science often goes through paradigm shifts. A paradigm is a dominant view regarding a topic abandoned for another. Paradigm shifts demonstrate the strength and vitality of science, showing science to be a process that refines and improves itself through time. Understanding how science works is vital to assessing how scientific interpretations progress through time as information accrues. Achieving sustainable solutions is vital to our future. The primary challenge in our increasingly populated world is how to live within our planet's means. This is the challenge of sustainability, a guiding principle of modern environmental science. We are drawing down Earth's natural capital, its accumulated wealth of resources, 50% faster than it can be replenished. This cannot be sustained. Population and consumption drive environmental impact. The ways we modify the environment have been influenced by the steep and sudden rise of human population. Our consumption of resources has risen even faster than our population. There also exists a very large and widening income differences across countries and within them too. In the United States, the average citizen's footprint is much greater than the world's average, along with a large income discrepancy. Discrepancies in income lead to large differences in the ecological footprint of citizens from different nations. Our dramatic growth in population and consumption is intensifying many of our environmental impacts, from erosion to loss of Earth's biodiversity. The most comprehensive scientific assessment of the condition of the world's ecological systems and their capacities to continue supporting our civilization was completed in 2005, called the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment. Our energy choices in the coming years will influence our future enormously. Our reliance on fossil fuels, while bringing us material affluence, has intensified virtually every impact that we have on our environment. In addition to the environmental problems caused, we will soon have to deal with the depletion of these fuels and the energy crisis that could precipitate. Sustainable solutions are abound, however, and many workable solutions are already at hand. Renewable energy and efficiency efforts are gaining ground. Scientists have developed and promoted soil conservation, high-efficiency irrigation, and organic agriculture. Laws and new technologies have reduce emitted air pollution, and species are being protected along with their habitats. Recycling is helping conserve resources and alleviate waste disposal problems. And lastly, steps are being taken to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that drive climate change. And these are just a few amongst the many efforts aimed at protecting our quality of life and environment. We must develop solutions that protect both our quality of life and our environment. Students are also promoting solutions on campuses. Proponents of campus sustainability seek ways to help colleges and universities reduce their ecological footprints. Colleges and universities are centers of lavish resource consumption. Reducing the size of this footprint may be challenging. Students are often the ones who initiate these changes, and although support from faculty, staff, and administrators is crucial for their success. Campus sustainability efforts are diverse. Students are advancing sustainability efforts on their campus in a variety of ways. 700 university presidents have been signed on to the American College and President's Climate Commitment. Students who take the initiative to promote sustainable practices on their campuses accomplish several things at once. Students can make a difference by reducing the ecological footprint of a campus. Students who advance campus sustainability can serve as a model for their peers, and they can learn and grow as a result. Environmental science prepares you for the future. As our society comes to appreciate the looming challenges of creating a sustainable future, colleges and universities are attempting to better train students to confront these challenges. At most schools, fewer than half of the students take even a single course on basic functions of Earth's natural systems, and still fewer take courses on the links between human activity and sustainability. Students taking environmental science will be better prepared for the jobs and challenges of tomorrow. In conclusion, finding effective ways of living peacefully, healthfully, and sustainably on our diverse and complex planet will require a thorough scientific understanding of both natural and social systems. Science in general, and environmental science in particular, can help efforts to develop balanced and workable solutions to the many challenges we face today and to create a better world for ourselves and our children's tomorrow.